For most of my adult life, I believed my family was unbreakable. We weren't perfect, but we survived together. Or at least, that's what I told myself, right up until the day my cancer medication vanished. At the time, I was fighting stage 3 colon cancer. The kind that drains your body and your bank account at the same time. Every pill felt like a lifeline, and every refill cost more than I wanted to admit. My husband, David, and I had drained most of our savings just to keep my treatments going. But I told myself money didn't matter as long as I stayed alive. Then one morning I opened my medicine container. And it was empty. At first, I assumed I'd made a mistake. Cancer treatments made me foggy, forgetful. I checked the bathroom cabinet. Nothing. The bedroom drawer. Me. Panic started crawling up my chest as I searched every corner of the house, my hands shaking more with each passing minute. That's when I went into my son Mark's room. Mark had recently come home from college for break. Our relationship had always been complicated. I loved him deeply, but he'd struggled in the past, with poor choices, bad influences, and yes, stealing. We'd worked through it, or so I thought. I wasn't even looking for anything specific when I lifted the corner of his mattress. That's where I found the cash. Thick stack. Hundreds, maybe more. Way more than a college kid working part-time should have. My heart dropped straight into my stomach. In that moment, grief twisted into something darker. Betrayal. By the time Mark came home later that day, my mind was already made up. I confronted him immediately. He looked confused at first, then panicked. When I accused him of taking my medication and selling it, he swore he had no idea what I was talking about. He even reached out for our old pinky promise, the one we'd shared since he was little. But I didn't listen. David stood beside me the entire time. Steady. Reassuring. He told me that Mark's actions weren't my fault, that we hadn't failed as parents, that sometimes people just made bad choices. So I told my son to pack his things. Mark begged me to believe him. He cried. He pleaded. But I was exhausted, sick, and drowning in fear. I kicked him out of the house that night, believing I was protecting myself. The moment the door closed behind him, something inside me broke. Without my medication, my health began to spiral. The pain came back first. Then the weakness. I spent most days barely able to move from the bed to the couch. Through it all, David stayed strangely distant. He avoided eye contact, spent hours locked in his home office. If I needed help, he always seemed busy. One afternoon, while he was out, I wandered into his office to straighten up. That's when I noticed something odd beneath his desk, a small safe, tucked far enough back that I'd never seen it before. I don't know why, but my heart started racing. On impulse, I tried the code. Our anniversary. Clicked open. Inside, buried beneath a few documents, were the very pills I had been searching for. My medication. Every bottle. Untouched. My hands shook as I pulled them out, my mind screaming that there had to be an explanation. Then I saw the second item, a phone. Cheap one. Burner. When I unlocked it, my worst nightmare unfolded in front of me. Messages. Dozens of them. From a woman I didn't recognize. 3 years' worth of conversations. And buried among them were words that made my blood run cold. David had been planning to let me die. He'd stolen my medication, framed our son, and intended to walk away free. No suspicion, no guilt, no consequences. That was the moment I realized the truth. The man I trusted with my life was the one trying to end it. But just as I was trying to process the betrayal, I heard the front door alarm go off. David was home, and I had seconds to decide what to do next. The moment I heard the front door alarm chime, my body went rigid. David was home. My heart slammed against my ribs as I stared down at the evidence in my hands. My stolen medication and the hidden phone that proved everything. I didn't have time to think. I shoved the phone back into the safe, grabbed my pill bottles and locked it again. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped them. I barely had time to slide the safe back under the desk before his footsteps echoed down the hallway. "Hey!" David called out casually. I forced myself to breathe. When I greeted him at the door, I plastered on a smile so fake it hurt my face. He gave me a strange, tight grin in return, kissed my cheek, and went straight to his office. No concern, no questions. That night, I locked myself in the bathroom and collapsed on the floor. I cried until my throat burned. I vomited from the stress. I shook so violently I thought I might pass out. And the entire time, David never once checked on me. In a twisted way, I was relieved. The thought of him touching me made my skin crawl. The next morning, while he was at work, I called a lawyer. Speaking the words, "I want a divorce," felt surreal, like I was narrating someone else's life. My lawyer told me calmly that I needed proof, solid, undeniable evidence, if I wanted to protect myself and my assets. So I went back into David's office. The safe was gone. Panic surged through me. I dropped to my knees and searched under the desk, then behind the filing cabinet. Nothing. I tore through drawers, checked the closet, even looked behind furniture throughout the house. Hours passed. My hope faded. Out of sheer desperation, I wandered into our bedroom and glanced up at the painting above the bed. It was a wedding gift from my cousin, a photo of David and me smiling on the beach, frozen in a moment that now felt like a lie. I don't know why I checked behind it, but when I lifted the frame, I saw the hole in the wall. David had carved out a hidden compartment behind the painting. Inside sat the safe. I felt dizzy as I pulled it out and opened it. Everything was still there, the medication, the phone, the proof. This time I took pictures of everything. Screenshots of the messages. Photos of the bottles. Evidence stacked neatly against him. When I was done, I put everything back exactly as I'd found it. That evening, David came home and stared at me for a moment longer than usual. "You look better today," he said slowly. I smiled and replied, "Glory to God." The way his face tightened told me he knew. He just didn't know how much I knew. And while David thought he was still in control, I had already begun planning the moment his world would collapse. For the next few days, I played my role perfectly. Smiled. I thanked David for dinner. I pretended I was weak and distracted. Meanwhile, I started quietly moving his belongings, one bag at a time, into a storage unit I'd rented under my name. He didn't notice. He was too busy watching me. When the last box was gone, I called a locksmith and had every lock on the house changed. Then I waited. When David arrived home that evening, the confusion on his face was instant. He tried his key again and again before pounding on the door. "Open this door," he shouted. I answered through the Ring camera. I told him I knew everything. About the medication. About the affair. About his plan to let me die. At first he denied it. Then he cracked. He begged. He confessed. And he never noticed the camera recording every word. I told him the divorce papers were waiting in the storage unit, and that if he ever came back, I'd go to the police. I blocked him everywhere. That night I called my son Mark. But fixing my marriage was nothing compared to the pain of realizing I'd destroyed my relationship with my son. Mark was silent when I told him the truth. Then he cried. He said being kicked out nearly broke him. That not being believed hurt more than losing the house. I apologized, fully honestly, and begged him to come home. He did. We talked for hours. We started therapy. We cooked together. Walked together. He matched his pace to mine when my body couldn't keep up. But my health took another turn. One morning I woke up unable to move. Pain shot through my entire right side. Mark rushed me to the ER, where doctors confirmed the cancer had worsened due to weeks without treatment. My new doctor suggested aggressive care, and handed me a pamphlet for a women's cancer support group. I decided to go. And that support group would change my life in ways I never imagined. The group met at a small church. I arrived early and met Susan, the woman who started it after surviving cancer herself. The women welcomed me instantly. They listened. They laughed with me. They cried with me. Susan recommended a doctor, affordable, experienced, and compassionate. Switched. Slowly my strength returned. Meanwhile David spread lies. He told people I abandoned him, that I had another man, that I left him homeless. But the evidence protected me. With my lawyer, my son, and my support group behind me, I finalized the divorce on my terms. Kept everything. And just when I thought the hardest chapter was over, life gave me the best news of all. A year later, my doctor smiled and said the word I'd prayed for. Remission. Mark insisted we celebrate. He suggested my dream trip, the Maldives. The trip David always said we couldn't afford. We booked it. My family threw a pink-themed party. My support group cried with joy. And now, as I write this from a beach at sunset, my son beside me, I finally understand something. Losing everything I thought I had saved my life. Sometimes the people who betray us unknowingly lead us to the life we were always meant to live.